The premise of this book is that Ned is studying hospital administration for a week to see if he wants to do it for a living. I am super jealous. My college didn't have any programs to let students job shadow or career test. They mostly had pamphlets on how to write resumes. That's part of the reason why I do 1980s book reviews on YouTube instead of having a real job.
Argofunk Book Review, Argofunk Book Review.
Nancy and Ned have a double date with Dr. Trevor Callahan and his fiancée, April Shaw. Nancy and Ned smile at each other and wish they could get married. I guess they don't remember when Ned proposed to Nancy in book 24. Continuity! The date is interrupted by an emergency. One of Trevor's patients almost dies because they were given the wrong medication. Trevor is angry and demands to know who's responsible. The nurse responds, "You are!" Dun dun dun. Trevor doesn't remember prescribing the wrong medication, but his signature is on the file, plain as day. The man in charge, Dr. Rayburn, warns that there will be an inquiry into this matter. The next day, Nancy gets a phone call from Trevor. Once again, he's being falsely accused of prescribing the wrong medicine. Only this time, the patient was April's father, and he died instantly. It'd make for an awkward Thanksgiving if Trevor is found guilty of killing his fiancée's dad, so he begs Nancy to figure out what's going on. Obviously, the first step is to perform an autopsy and determine the cause of death. But someone just stole the body from the hospital morgue, so an autopsy is out of the question. This should be clue number 1 that something weird is going on here, but the hospital staff doesn't seem all that concerned about it. Dr. Rayburn and the others just tell Nancy to go away and leave them alone, like it's no big deal. Dead bodies disappear from the hospital all the time, Nancy becomes a candy striper in order to continue the investigation. She breaks into Dr. Rayburn's office to see the patient charts when the culprit shows up, knocks her out with a sedative, and steals all of the files. We're told Nancy can't recognize the culprit because he's disguised in medical scrubs, but you'd think that after the first attack, she'd make a point of memorizing his eyes, or at least noticing what the culprit's eye color is. That would help. We get some insight as to why things at the hospital are so disorganized. One of the high-level managers is Suzanne Wells, Trevor's ex-girlfriend. She's manipulative and cares more about getting Trevor back than about running the hospital. The other bad employee is David Baines, a disorderly orderly who hates doctors. He was kicked out of medical school in St. Louis, but for some reason, that didn't hurt his ability to work in the medical field full-time. Nancy investigates for a while, and she realizes that the culprit tricked Trevor into prescribing the wrong medication by switching files and labels. That's pretty obvious to me, but Trevor acts like Nancy is a genius for figuring it out. Drama happens when April accuses Trevor of killing her father on purpose. A big fight ensues, and Trevor runs straight to Suzanne for comfort. They start making out in public. Eventually, Trevor comes to his senses and realizes April is the girl for him. Baines lures Nancy into a trap, and he warns her to stay away. The trap doesn't work. Not only does she recognize him, but she uses her karate moves to injure him. Baines ends up running away, screaming that he's innocent, he knows who the culprit is, and why. Why? Why? Before he can answer, the culprit runs him over with an ambulance and takes him out of the story. The good news is that the ambulance is right there, so they can take him to the hospital immediately. There's a humorous sequence where Nancy disguises herself as a doctor while Ned distracts the guards, but nothing comes of it. The real break in the case comes when Ned mentions the hospital's dissecting lab. A room filled with cadavers? That must be where the culprit is hiding the victim's corpse. So they go there, and somebody's inside the anatomy lab. Ned goes in first, so he can capture the culprit himself. As you'd expect, he fails badly. The culprit knocks him out and throws him in a sack. Poor Ned. At least he tried to be useful. Nancy gets the urge to go to the pathology lab, because the plot demands that she be there. She arrives just in time to see the culprit steal the victim's corpse again. She chases the culprit through some hidden passageways before she gets knocked out. The culprit is revealed to be Dr. Rayburn. He explains that he and Baines were fired for malpractice in St. Louis. Baines was disgraced forever, as we know, but Rayburn escaped justice through a trick. You'll love this. His medical diploma says Rayburn on it, right? Well, he used some whiteout and there! Now he's not Dr. Rayburn, he's Dr. Rayburn! Ha ha ha! Isn't he a clever culprit? Let's talk about the cover art for a while. Nancy is on an operating table while the culprit holds a scalpel over her throat. Obviously, in the book, she doesn't turn to the side to show off her curves. She's held in place by leather restraints. Nancy somehow manages to free her foot and kick the culprit's hand away. How? How is that possible from that angle when your body is tied down? Nancy fights off Dr. Rayburn while undoing her other restraints. She slams the IV stand on his head and knocks him unconscious with laughing gas. It is admittedly an awesome fight. But still, how did she kick his hand away? Whatever. The end. Postbook follow-up. I liked this book. Particularly, I liked how Nancy and Ned were cute together the entire time. I also liked how the book went out of its way to make every suspect look guilty. I mean, that's par for the course in a Nancy Drew book, but still, the scene where April is accused of killing her father was dramatic and well done. Another thing I liked about this book is the pacing. The first 3 chapters introduce us to the characters and the situation in a casual setting, before dropping the big mystery into things. I like that. It's a change of pace to not start the mystery in media res, and it gave me a chance to like the victims for themselves, instead of the usual, you feel bad for the victims because they're victims. The book has its problems, though, like Nancy being a little too slow to put the clues together about St. Louis, and the whole whiteout on the diploma fake identity plot twist was stupid. But still, I like the book a lot. I give Nancy Drew Files number 35, Bad Medicine, a 9 out of 10.